Chapter 38. Bear Creek Store, 1930s. Muck, Sun, Trexler's H, slur for being dumb. He was a real muckson when it came to schoolin'. Keeping a rural country store open and profitable had always been a challenge. Many times, the store owners supplemented their income with other enterprises. Having a post office in your small store was merely for convenience and to bring people to your premises. Trading posts and taverns in the past had been more profitable dealing with furs, whiskey, and such, but the rural store then faced a shrinking economy in greatly depressed times and customers with little money. As money got tighter, bartering returned to be a common practice once again in places like Bear Creek. The women living on the farm enjoyed a twist of tobacco, but they had grown fond of the powder form called snuff. Sometimes Melinda would spare a dozen eggs and send Earl down the creek road past Bohannon to the Bear Creek County store. He would trade the eggs for her choice of tobacco. It was about a 3-mile round trip, and he was told to not sigh-fog, meaning to diddle-daddle around, but to get home fast. Jenny, Katie, Nora Bell, and Melinda anxiously awaited their satisfying chaw of bacca. Earl could recall the brands of tobacco the store carried: Bull of the Woods, Bull Durham, Garrett, and Rooster. The later was snuff, and the former was for chewing. Some tobacco came in a tin can, some in bear plugs or twist, and some in a cloth pouch. One day, Giles Turney came across a tobacco bag in the road that he assumed someone had accidentally dropped. Thinking that he felt the tobacco inside the small cloth sack with its drawstring, he didn't look inside it. He came into the house and handed it to his wife Jody. Thinking she would be impressed by his offer, she opened the sack, but it didn't have tobacco inside, only some dry excrement. She threw the sack at Giles in disgust. He had been the brunt of someone's prank. The new owners of the Bear Creek store were Irvin Bishop Wasson and Pearl Jane Turney Wasson. The family operated the store, post office, and a grist mill. The grist mill was hand-cranked and made cornmeal out of whole kernels of corn. Irvin went by his middle name Bishop and was the son of Webster Wasson, both being members of the Masonic Lodge. Several of the Wassons lived on Richland Creek, but Bishop, having served in WWI, then married Pearl Turney and took over the post office and store that Ulyss Firestone had started. He died in 1932 at age 44. His widow was Tennessee Melinda Ellen Horton Firestone, and in 1933 she married Giles Turney, who had been widowed. In 1930, Billy was living with Riley and Melinda when the census was taken, but Jenny and Nora Bell were living with Martin in the lower house on Bear Creek. At some future point, Jenny and Nora moved in with Riley to be taken care of as well. This required Melinda and Riley to care for Jenny, Billy, Katie, and Nora Bell, in addition to their children, Earl, Clifford, Troy, Perry, Veda Joe, Roy, and Reva Jane, who was born in 1931. For a period, 11 or 12 harnesses lived in one house with ages ranging from infant to 100 years old, all in an era of wood fire cooking and no plumbing. Without making these connections, our appreciation of what Melinda and Riley were sacrificing to nurture and honor parents and to raise children is lost in time. Additionally, I imagine relatives came by to visit or the circuit preacher needing a place to stay for the evening. The upper house on Bear Creek could accommodate more people than the older lower house, but all had to share space and be respectful of privacy as previous generations had. This created a bond between members of family that is rare today. It also made fledglings want to spread their wings and leave the nest early. I better understand why Grandpa Billy went to the barn to make water his expression. Getting out of the house and walking was a necessary exercise for his sanity. While the Dust Bowl years are said to have started in 1930, I found that the wettest November on record for Oklahoma City was set back in 1931 when 9.63 inches of rain fell. The heat was building in the summers of 1930 and 1931, but fall rains kept the dust down. On June 3, 1932, a flood on the North Canadian River was severe in Oklahoma City, leaving 5 dead and 3,200 homeless. Then a drought hit in the spring of 1933, with June receiving almost no rain. The dust from the plowed ground began to blow, and the dry earth heated up. High pressure in the atmosphere blocked the moisture from coming into the Central Plains. 1933 was a setup for what would be the worst to come. Reva Jane was a name that Riley Harness had seen written on the wall in a house where they were staying in Oklahoma while working in the harvest. Earl Harness told me that his dad Riley liked the name, and when another heifer baby was born on September 27, 1931, the beautiful girl was given the name Reva Jane. This points yet to a third trip that Riley made before the terrible Dust Bowl to do seasonal work in Oklahoma. Perhaps Melinda stayed home to help care for the elderly Jenny and her aging son Billy, her sick mother-in-law Katie, her special needs sister-in-law Nora Bell, and her new baby girl Reva. Perry Harness recalls making a trip to Oklahoma with his family to work chopping cotton. He was small and worked alongside his father and 3 older brothers. Chopping cotton is the first hoeing of the young cotton plants to thin the plants by the width of the hoe blade, 6-inch width. A man by the name of Arch Bibby, who grew cotton on the Washita River near Carnegie, Oklahoma, hired Riley and his boys to chop his cotton. Perry worked his row, and Riley would help him catch up when needed. At the end of the day, Arch asked how the little boy did, and Riley affirmed that he had worked the same as the others. Upon hearing that, he paid them the wage of 5 men at $1.25 per hour. Young Perry felt so proud to be counted as earning the 25-cent wage of a man. I asked Perry how the family got to Oklahoma from Bear Creek. He said he remembered them riding in the back of a man's truck with some hay to sit on. I suppose the man was going there to haul freight, and they caught a ride with him. This and other stories told to me from this time period reveal that many folks depended on others to get from one place to another. It was considered a courtesy to stop and pick up someone walking. Sharing and hospitality was a value that was widely practiced, especially by those who were poor during hard times. Back at home in the late fall, Earl Harness got a job plowing a neighbor's field with a single-stock turning plow. Walking behind a mule all day down in the furrow made the feet sore and the legs weak. However, Earl got 50 cents per day when jobs were few and money was hard to come by. He later sent $1 with someone to buy him some freckle cream removal from the drugstore in Marshall. He would lament for having worked 2 days for a worthless ointment. His money was gone, but his freckles remained. The last tax receipt I have for W.A. Harness paying taxes on both farms was 1930, paid in 1931. Both the Mountain and Creek farms were paid up on 4/10/31 for the previous year. The acreage total was 253, and the tax was 35/69. Billy paid a poll tax of $2, and the receipt shows that a dog was assessed at $1 each. But Billy listed none. I speculate that Billy's age of 73 years old, along with the Great Depression and the severe drought, caused Billy to sell the mountain farm with its orchard. Many farms were sold or abandoned in the 1930s as the price was dirt cheap. Reflection. It was risky to take a family on a journey in hopes of finding work and leaving the farm to be kept up by others. But Riley and Melinda needed to earn some money to help them supply their growing family with basic needs and with things they could not make or grow. Like them, we must make decisions in life that present difficulties if we go or stay. We need God's guidance in such matters. But after them, 7 years of famine will arise, and all the plenty will be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine will deplete the land. Genesis 41:30.